Howdy folks, welcome to Happy Trails Hiking. Today we're going to take you on a trip down memory lane to some of our favorite hikes of all time.
Hopefully our recommendations will be a help to you when you're planning your trip to national parks. Our first one up is Golden Canyon in Death Valley National Park. So we started Golden Canyon before the sunrise.
That's right, we were in the parking lot and it was completely dark. We actually waited until we had enough light to see the trail.
And then you find out why it's called Golden Canyon. Look at those colors.
And this whole hike was just full of surprises, full of rich colors and interesting things to look at as we went through the trail. And the trail's more like, in some cases, it's just a wash. So it's important to have your map and compass like always.
And water.
And lots of water.
Our next hike is Cleetwood Cove and Wizard Island in Crater Lake National Park. This is another one we started really early in the morning.
Right, and the way this worked is we were getting there early, we're hiking down a short little trail to a boat ramp. And now, in this part of the video, we're actually in the boat and we're going across the lake to Wizard Island. And if you look closely, you can actually see rocks on the bottom of the lake. This is some of the clearest and most beautiful blue water I have ever seen in my life.
It is really awesome. I really liked the interpretive part of the boat ride as well. Once you get on the island, it starts out really rocky, but then you get into these lovely pine forests with wonderful views of Crater Lake. The hike up to the top is about 1 mile, so it's fairly steep with some switchbacks, but once you get up there.
Yeah, you're at the top of the cinder cone, and I don't think we show it, but you can actually look down into that cinder cone. And now we're in Yosemite.
Yes, this was in 2012, before we did video, but this is the Upper Yosemite Falls hike.
This is probably the most challenging hike we ever did in terms of strenuous hiking, because there's a significant amount of elevation gain in just 3.5 miles.
Exactly, and when you get to the top, you get to look down on the buildings, and you don't even recognize them as buildings.
And it's also quite cold at the top. This was in the middle of the summer. It was warm in the valley, but it's cold and windy at the top.
The next one is from our first summer of YouTubing, and this is 2016 in Fern Canyon at Redwood National Park.
And what you're seeing here is kind of the first part of the walk into the canyon. And so it's kind of broad, but as you get deeper into the canyon, the steepness of the walls changes and it gets more and more vertical. And it gets to a point where you're looking at the wall and it's just straight up and down, and you almost feel like you're surrounded by a wall of ferns. And that's what you're seeing right here. Just the camera wasn't big enough to get the whole thing in, to capture it. But it's very Jurassic Park-like.
Yes, so green.
Yes, there were no velociraptors, but it was quite amazing.
Next one is, we're back in Death Valley, but I think this is one of Matt's favorites because it was such an interesting one. So this is Darwin Falls hike in Death Valley National Park.
In general, I find the concept of the desert oasis just incredibly enticing, and this one certainly is. It's a short hike, maybe a mile. It's along a creek, and then when you get there, you get this payoff. It's this waterfall, this beautiful pool, and it's just picturesque.
And I have to say that I've seen videos and I thought that this waterfall was going to be bigger.
It's actually quite small. Like, I feel like I could scale it. Don't do that.
You'd have to swim. But our next hike is probably my all-time favorite, just because it was our longest day hike. It was to Cable Mountain and the East Rim Trail.
Let's listen for a minute. So this spot right here is on that hike that we did on the East Rim, and I loved it. We sat here for probably 15 or 20 minutes and just listened to the wind. You know, it was one of those places, like if I get stressed out, I have a rough day at work, I go to my happy place mentally, and I'm sitting there on that canyon.
Yep, that's called Echo Canyon right there. And this is the Slot Canyon, right before you descend down over Weeping Rock. into Zion Valley, into the valley in Zion National Park. All right, so this hike is in Yellowstone, and if you guys have been watching the channel for a while, I'm sure you're like, well, where's the Yellowstone hikes? Because you guys love Yellowstone. But this is probably one of the ones a day hike we love because there's so many things to see on it. So this is Fairy Falls, an Imperial Geyser, and it's in the Midway Geyser Basin. At least that's where the trailhead is. And this is from our 2013 trip. And this is Fairy Falls.
Yeah. And one of the reasons I like this hike so much is, first of all, Fairy Falls, but also once you get past Fairy Falls, you get into this area, which is this creek. And the creek is this really hot creek runoff from the geyser that we're hiking to, and you get to walk along that beautiful bacterial color, and when you get there, you get to these mud pots.
I loved these gurgling mud pots. They were really fun. But you get mud pots, and they're right next to Imperial Geyser.
Right. And so there are no fences around this area. There's no boardwalk, so you do have to be careful.
Or at least there wasn't.
That's true. It's been quite a while since we've been there. But when we were there were no fences or boardwalks. And so you can get a little bit closer, but it's a little bit nerve-wracking because you don't know exactly where it's safe to step.
It is a
we had no
geothermal
problem.
area.
But then on the way back or on the way there, you can see Grand Prismatic.
Our last place that we wanted to take you was to Phelps Lake in Grand Teton National Park. And why did we like this one so much, Matt?
Well, the hike itself is a beautiful flat loop around the lake, and that's amazing.
Yep.
But the other thing that's so cool about this hike is at the Rockefeller Center, there's limited parking. And there are actually people there that will, rangers specifically, are there to make sure that it's not overcrowded. So the number of people that are on this trail is limited by the size of the parking lot. Now, it's still a lot of people, and you might have to wait. But once you get there, the trail is not going to be ridiculously crowded like it would be, at other places in the Tetons.
I agree. And the views of the Tetons are fantastic. So we know we have missed quite a few, even some of ours that we don't have time to mention. But if you'll leave your favorites down in the comments below, that'll help us add to our ever-growing list of day hikes that we need to take.
We've enjoyed sharing this trip down memory lane with you. And until next time, thanks for watching.